All right, welcome back to From the Ground Up. This is a podcast for Dow Smith Company employees, clients, and friends, and maybe some future friends. Dow Smith Company is a design builder here in Smyrna, Tennessee. We design and build healthcare facilities, commercial buildings, and churches. And today on our podcast, we have Ryan Sanford, who is a project manager here at Dow Smith Company, and he is over our service and small projects division. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thanks.
So before we talk about SSP, tell me just a little bit about yourself. I know you very proudly grew up in Ohio.
Yeah. Grew up in Ohio. Worked for my dad's family business. I was the fourth generation in a heating and air conditioning business that my great-grandfather started in 1946. And did that all growing up. After I graduated from Ohio State, went back and worked in that business for 4 years before my wife and I moved to Tennessee. She's from here. We met at Ohio State. And so we moved down here to be closer to her parents, whose health was deteriorating, and came down and been here since 2006. So, but HVAC's kind of been most of my career throughout my life, and that's how it kind of, I met Dow in 2018 at church, and then became a subcontractor. I was working for an HVAC contractor, became a sub for Dow Smith, and then a couple years ago, Dow asked me to come over as a project manager here. So, been
Awesome.
here since going on 2 years now.
And you were doing HVAC like all the way up until that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there was a few periods in my career there where I left and did some work for TVA. I was training contractors, but still was kind of had my hand in HVAC in that one. And then I worked for a nonprofit, worked for a church here and there a couple years. But I joke that it's like HVAC I always kept getting sucked back to HVAC. I couldn't quite escape it. But I love the construction, just the construction field, the problem solving that goes into it and all of that. So whether it be HVAC or, office renovations or whatever, it's all kind of the same thing for me as far as getting to, work in buildings and solve people's problems. So.
Did you, like, growing up, did you have being in the fourth generation of Sanfords to do that, did you have any thought of, like, I might go do something else, or was it just sort of foregone conclusion, like, this is what I'm going to do?
Absolutely not. I had no intention of going into HVAC in my career whatsoever. No, I was, so, I was, I went for a long time. It was like, well, maybe I'll be a lawyer. I was pre-law in college, and then it wasn't until I think our junior year of college where really my wife and I were engaged by then. We were kind of deciding, and it was like, it was really junior year before we said, you know what, I think I'm going to go back and work in my family business. I enjoyed it whenever I would work there in breaks and things like that, Christmas break, summer. I always enjoyed it, but I just never thought I would end up doing it. And it's been wonderful. I mean, it's served my family well, so
Yeah.
so I can't complain. And my dad's now retired. The business is basically closed, and so when I left, that was pretty much the end of that generational business. But yeah.
Wow.
So.
Well, and then, in addition to that, and I was trying to think of how to get into this, but, you're also the pastor at Cornerstone, Cornerstone United Methodist Church here in Smyrna. And I'm going to try to kind of merge these two worlds, which I'm sure in your head it's like hard to hold those two things. But how did that come about?
Okay. Well, so when in 2006, when my wife and I were looking at moving back down here, I was actually feeling called to ministry. So that was when I first started feeling called to ministry. Ended up working at a church full time right after we moved down here for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and then moved over to a nonprofit. And then when the economy tanked in 2008, 2009, that's when my position at the nonprofit got eliminated, and I ended up back in HVAC. But the world, my Dow Smith worlds and my ministerial worlds came together, like I said, at church. So in 2014, I was licensed as a local pastor in the Methodist Church, which in the United Methodist Church, there's so many small little churches around. Most of those are pastored by bivocational ministers like me. So most of us have other jobs outside the church, full-time jobs, some part-time, because these are these small churches that can't afford a full-time pastor. So,
well, at least not one as good as you, right?
Yeah. I tell them they get what they pay for. But in 2014, I became licensed as a local pastor. In 2016, I was asked to go to Cornerstone United Methodist Church and be the pastor there. I'm very part-time. I'm quarter-time there. Technically it's 10 hours a week is what the Methodist Church says. Love being there. That's where I first met Dow Smith. But it's funny because when Cornerstone was just this steel metal building that was built as a temporary building while they were when the church was started back in the 90s, and they were going to build a bigger facility that was going to be kind of their permanent, and then they were going to turn that little box that we had into just a fellowship hall. Well, obviously things changed, and they were never able. They built the little box, and it never went anywhere from there. So where our sanctuary was, it was just this dark room, no windows, no nothing. So Dow Smith starts coming to church there, and I got to talking to him, and I said, well, one of the things we'd like to do is add some windows. There's no natural light in here. I mean, it was just a dark, dingy place. And he said, oh, okay, well, he gave me a couple names of people to call to do it. Well, I could never get anybody to call me back because I was just some pastor at this tiny little church wanting to do this small little window job. Well, about a year later, I had the Dow Smith newsletter up, and I see that they launched this service and small projects division.
Yeah.
And I called Dow and I said, hey, this seems like this would be a perfect job for us. And he says, you've never had those windows installed, have you? And I said, you come to church here, you haven't noticed? And he's like, well, no, I guess I never did. He just kind of forgot about it. And so I think, as far as I know, one of the first SSP jobs when Dow Smith started was to install windows in my sanctuary at Cornerstone United Methodist Church. So it was a wonderful experience. I mean, I had just a great experience with them. Josh Beasley was running the division at that time. He's now a superintendent here. Josh came out. He was just awesome to work with. And so for a year, I had been trying to get this work done, calling different people. Nobody would ever call me back because it was just too small of a project for anybody that wanted to take it on, or that nobody wanted to take it on, basically. So, and they got it done in a few weeks. Wow. Got the materials in, got it cut in, turned out wonderfully. It was just a game changer for so many people in our church because it showed a lot of the older members of our church that had been there since the start, that I remember them coming in and being like, everybody always talked about this just being kind of like a temporary building and nobody ever wanted to do anything. And they said, and it was funny because it really meant a lot for them to have windows installed because they said, it shows that we're happy with this, we're good, so it was a big deal for our church to have those windows installed. We got them installed right before COVID. And so we installed these new windows, and then we had we had the electrical contractor come in and replace all our lights and things like that. So basically, we started just kind of getting work done now then through Dow Smith, and then COVID hit and we stopped worshiping inside for a while and all that stuff. But most
Just
recently,
go sneeze out the window.
yeah,
right?
that's right. But recently now, I mean, Dow Smith we just finished a sanctuary addition onto the church. I've been in there now 4 weeks. We've been worshiping in the new sanctuary for 4 weeks. And so we've just had a wonderful working relationship with Dow Smith. And it goes beyond the fact that, he goes to church there. He actually didn't want to do the work because he was like, no, I go to church here. I don't want to do the work. That's just how Dow is. But we've pretty much forced him.
Well, and then that's weird for you too at times to be like a Dow Smith employee and a Dow Smith client, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Knowing you how much you believe in our culture and the way we do things, it's probably not as awkward as it could be, but it's still a little bit of a fine line to walk at times, I'm sure.
Yeah, it can be, especially, I have to remove the pastor hat and put on the construction hat sometimes, but Dow and Joey and Trey and them have just been so good about trying to protect me as the pastor from the work, from the construction work, so that I didn't. So when I walk in on Sunday mornings, I can walk in as the pastor and not walk in as a project manager and see in every dent in a drywall.
You don't have blue tape in your
I don't carry blue tape with my Bible, So, but one of the testaments to this company for me personally is knowing that I have gone from just friend of Dow's to client as a SSP, now even, client of a larger project, but from client to subcontractor to employee, and never does it even cross my mind to hire somebody else to do the work.
Right.
As much as I know everything that, once you know how the sausage gets made, type thing, working with any other contractor in Middle Tennessee, to me is just never an option, because I just love what this company stands for, and I know that no matter what, this company is going to do whatever's best for the client. And so
yeah, and so outside of actually hiring our clients, which would be could be a little tricky, but outside of that, you essentially just told the story of SSP, because I think what happens with a lot of our clients that start as SSP clients is we have this work, we know we need to get it done, we don't have a big massive budget to do it, but and we'll get to this, but it's more than just a handyman can do.
Yes.
But it's not a big enough job to really get on anybody's radar for anybody to call us back. And that's essentially why SSP was born, right?
Yeah. The way I understand it, the way it's been described to me is just that, they would, for 30 years, we've been building buildings, and we'd build a building, and then 10 years later, and they had this great experience with us on the construction side, on the ground up side. And then 10 years later, they say, okay, well, we want to move this wall or renovate a bathroom or whatever. And they'd call up Dow, and it was like, well, no, we don't do that. And so we're having send them someplace else. And so, well, we're not serving our clients. We're serving our clients through the build, but we're not serving them. There's not as much longevity there if we're not serving them in every need that they may have, construction-wise. So that kind of, I think, was the catalyst of it. But what quickly realized is that, serving our clients goes beyond just we'll only serve you if we're going to build you a $2 million building. We want to serve these businesses, whether it's a $2 million building or a $20,000 bathroom right now.
Yeah, because I think it started as, like you said, we have clients who need ongoing work just throughout the course of our relationship with the client. But we've kind of come to understand that we may have some SSP clients who never build a 75,000 square foot ground up building.
Correct.
But they're always going to need, to add an office or to add a bathroom or to change an office to a bathroom or some things like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they're either going to try and find a one-man shop that returns their phone calls. Nothing against those guys that work that way. But we carry with us 30 years of experience, a subcontractor team that will answer our calls, obviously, and and a team of construction techs in-house that can do anything. So we just have this arsenal of expertise and specialties and things like that me as pastor at Cornerstone United Methodist Church, a part-time pastor just wanting some storefront glass installed in our sanctuary, doesn't have the knowledge to even know where do I start on this and who all do I need to call, to just making a one call to Dow Smith Company and just, hey, this is something we need. Okay, we'll handle it for you.
And that's the thing that I think you and I have talked a lot about, but it's really the story that I want to try to tell better, which is you could hire just a handyman, and there are some very capable, talented handymen who have lots of experience and know exactly what they're doing. But you're really hiring like one guy in a van with a tool belt who shows up, who, again, could do a good job, but maybe doesn't have all the knowledge of everything that they might run into. But when you hire SSP, you're getting the same subcontractors that we would use on that big 75,000 square foot ground up building. You're getting the same techs in-house with Dow Smith Company. I mean, we have techs here that have decades of experience. That are going to show up to those jobs, and they're going to, like those clients getting somebody to answer our call, those subs are going to answer our call because we have so much other work for them to do too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have subs on our team that really only work for us, that we give them enough business to keep their livelihoods going completely. And so obviously they're answering our calls because we are their client. We are their number one client. But I'm glad you brought up about the techs. I mean, I think to me a testament to Dow Smith Company, how much importance and emphasis they've put on the service side of our SSP, which is service and small projects, is what it stands for. But is the fact that our most seasoned veteran technician, which is Steve Williams, he's been here for I think 24 years.
Yep.
Been here the only person that's been here longer is Dow Smith,
right?
Who has done literally everything. Anything and everything. He has done it. He has seen it. He is my primary SSP tech. They said, well, we're gonna give you Steve. I have access to the whole team, but Steve does most of my work. And it was like, clients absolutely adore Steve.
Oh, they love him.
They just fall in love with the guy. He's a giant teddy bear. He can do absolutely anything. He can build them a house if they want to, and he'll do it and say about 3 words while he's doing it. But and so one of our very best people that we had on staff, they said, we want him to be doing our SSP because he has a servant's heart, clients love him, and he can do absolutely anything for him. And I love that because it shows that it shows the importance that I think that Dow and Joey and Trey and Shauna have put on the service aspect of SSP.
When he's also such a great fit because if you have a ground up project that say takes 18 months to complete, right? You've got that dedicated team that's working on that. They're maybe out at a job site trailer, practically living out there for that whole 18 months. On the flip side, you've got SSP that literally, like, Steve wakes up in the morning going, I don't know where.
Yeah.
I might be here today or there today. I might be hanging a door or knocking down some drywall or putting up some drywall or do it. It could be,
He could be doing any number of things. Yeah, I think today, right now, he's going back and forth between a bathroom remodel at a business in Laverne where we're renovating their bathrooms that are about 60 years old. And then he's also going over to a warehouse in Laverne, and he's replacing ceiling tile and painting ceiling grid because it's about 30 years old and it looks all dingy and nasty. And what we found is we can paint it and make it look brand new and change out tiles for very little money in it. And it's amazing how much it changes the look whenever you replace the ceiling. But so he's kind of going back and forth. 2 weeks ago, he finished a bathroom remodel in a residence as a community service project that we did, and as just a project that we wanted to do just to give back to the community, and it was like, well, we don't do residential bathrooms. That we don't build things. We don't build houses and things like that. So we have this residential bathroom, and it was like, oh, okay, well, Steve can do that. Where he's changing out shower doors and and vanities and things like that, and and pulling toilets and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, he can pretty much, like I said, he can do anything. So sure, yeah, we got a residential bathroom. Let's just send Steve, and so.
Well, so I was looking this week as we kind of come to the end of the year, and just looking at all the projects that we've done this year, and I asked you earlier, even you didn't know, and I didn't know this number, but when we finish 2023, we will have done about 75 SSP jobs, which is crazy. I mean, that's probably, 1.5 a week.
Yeah.
On average. But I think we've talked today a lot about sort of the service part of it, but there's also the small projects part. And those could be a much longer project, right? Mm-hmm. So just looking back over the year and thinking back, what have been some of the small projects that you've done this year that really stand out?
Yeah, I think we did a large open area for a bank in Murfreesboro. They had a big room with cubicles in it, and it was like, well, their manager was in a cubicle but needed some private space, obviously, closed door meetings and things, and so we built her an office in the corner. We've done, like I said, this bathroom remodel has somehow just always kind of keeps coming up, because in commercial buildings it seems like keeping the bathrooms updated or something that constantly happens. So we've done a few of those this year. In the process of one in Laverne, we did another one in Laverne. We did a project where we at a church where we built basically made just an open room that was an old baptismal area, put up a huge 30-foot wall to close it off from the sanctuary, and made it into an office for their AV people. Mm-hmm. So it's just been there's just been a lot of things like that. We're doing some at a development, like a commercial development with 4 different buildings in Murfreesboro coming in and just doing a lot of work on. They have about 50 garage doors in that development, working on some of the garage doors, fixing some siding, updating some of the outside so it looks nicer, things like that. So these are just a few of the projects that we've kind of done here and there, these small projects, which of that 75 or so of service total, 15 or 20 of those have been that longer term project where we may be on the job for 3 or 4 weeks. So as opposed to just come in, get the job done in a day or two, and get out, send a bill. This is more of an ongoing type thing.
And the other unique thing with you guys is you can do this work like we saw at the YMCA this year, where you can do the work and the business or organization can stay open while you're doing the work. So I think a lot of people would be like, we got to shut everything down because, and y'all are so good at coming in and maybe have to shut down like one little area for a couple days or something, but you can knock it out so fast. It's not like the project's dragging on and you're in people's way.
Yeah, the YMCA is a perfect example of that. Is we took 2 offices, took down a wall, moved a door, things like that, and basically made 2 offices into another classroom for their child care area, their after school program, because their after school program was just bursting at the seams and they needed more space. And so we were able to kind of partition off a few areas so then we didn't interfere in their ongoing child care areas that they continued to have while we were doing this other work, and kind of partition us all off so that they could keep doing what they were doing, and got it done on schedule, under budget, so that they could get it open. I think if I remember right, it was like they absolutely had to have it open by, I think it was President's Day or something. It was one of the holidays where it was like, we're going to be full of kids on that day. Any way you can get that done. And I think we had like 3 weeks total to get it done. It was like, yeah, absolutely. And I think the reason I bring that up is because, like I said, going back to that, hiring the handyman, we will make absolutely no claims to be the cheapest, the least expensive. If you hire a guy out of a van, there's no chance that that we're going to be less expensive than them. It's just not going to happen. And that's part of the good thing of having these small one-man shops is you can get a small projects done. But the problem with commercially in businesses is, every day that you're out of business, every day that you're changing around, things like that, that's money. That's,
exactly.
This isn't your house where, it's like, okay, you can live with it going 2 extra weeks so that you save, a couple $1,000s. A business, it's like when that business is shut down, that's just revenue.
It's costing
stopping. Yeah, it's costing you money. And so, so one thing that we pride ourselves on is the fact that, we may not be the cheapest, but we're going to come in and we're going to get it done. And we're going to get it done in a very, very tight schedule. And
it's going to be done very well, and it's going to have a warranty.
Yeah,
and if
absolutely,
something goes wrong or additional work needs to be done, you're going to be right back out there.
Yeah, and I when I talk to people in some of these small projects about about warranties and things like that, it's it's like I don't say it jokingly or anything to that effect, but I'm like, one, we've been here for 30 years. Okay, we've been around for 31 years now, almost 32. We've been here for 31 years, and two, like. We just finished a 75,000 square foot, MMC facility. We're not going anywhere.
Right.
And if they trust us with their tens of millions of dollars, I think you can probably trust that, your $30,000 project it's not going to bankrupt us, like that. So I just kind of, whenever we start to talk about warranty, I'm like, just understand some of the other work that we're doing. They're like, oh yeah, okay, I guess you guys aren't going anywhere. I always hear that. I hear that constantly. It's just, I guess you guys aren't going anywhere. No, we're not going anywhere. We're not going to close up shop, a year from now. If there's an issue with a light that goes out, because now everything's LED lights, and so it's not like you change a light bulb. If a light goes out, my electrical contractor who does, who has a team of 30 electricians on they're still going to be around. They can come and swap out that light under warranty. It's not going to be a problem. And so, Yeah, so there's just such a not just there's such a reputation that we carry with us because of the amount of work, the volume of work that we do in Rutherford County, in Middle Tennessee, the longevity that we've been here, that I feel like our small projects, they can pretty much rest easy that, okay, if they're good enough to do this, I'm pretty certain they'll be able to handle this small project too.
Well, and Joey and I talk a lot about this with big projects, but I wanted to ask you this, and this might be a good place for us to wrap up, but when should people call you?
No.
Like Joe, we always talk about like don't get so far down the road that you already started designing something and then you kind of have to turn around and go back and all that. So his advice is like as soon as you kind of have something in your head, give us a call. We can start to work on what the design for that would look like. And we can also start to figure out your budget too.
Yeah.
So if I have a small business and I've got, say, a leak in the roof, or I've got some carpet that I want changed out to hardwood floors, or I've got doors that aren't shutting correctly, or whatever, like, when's the right time to call you and start? Because I'll just say I've seen you go out and like, let me just walk the whole building with you and let's just take a look at everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. The philosophy that Joey has for a ground up is the exact same philosophy that we have on small projects. Is as soon as you have that idea in your head, call me and we can walk through and we can talk about it. I used an example yesterday. I was at a church in Murfreesboro, a small little Baptist church that worships about 20 people a Sunday. Well, they have these there are two bathrooms, the only men's and women's, and they said we really need a handicap stall, an ADA stall, and for someone in a wheelchair, and that was it. That's the only thing, and so they were smart enough to say, okay, well, let's just call Dow Smith, and so I went out, and so we were able to kind of sit down and take measurements, look at it, and say, okay, well, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And then they're like, well, maybe it'd be better if we move this door here because it would open up some space. Because if you take a bathroom, a commercial bathroom, and you have to add for instance, like an ADA stall, well, typically that's like two stalls in one, size-wise. Well, they're like, well, I don't know how we can do this. Now, their other option would have been that they would have sat down and put a committee together and tried to figure out a drawing and things like that, and possibly even tried to hire an architect or something to draw this up. Got a plumber involved to try and come and figure out, okay, well, where's the plumbing run? How could we do this? That type of thing. And it was like, do not go down that road. Just talk to us first. We have architects that work for us that we can talk to when that time comes. But we can really do so much of the legwork on the front end that saves you just thousands of dollars down the road. Because their other option, like I said, would have been they draw it all up, they come up with a plan, and then they send it out to 4 different contractors to say, hey, will you give us a bid on doing this?
Then they realize it's not
viable
plan.
Yeah, realize 1, they can't afford it. And 2, it's going to change how everything, goes, and they're going to spend 3 months trying to get those plans together. And, whereas in a 1-hour meeting where we're walking through with a tape measure and a little bit of tape that we can say, okay, well, this starts here and this type of thing, and just the knowledge of knowing, okay, well, these are the clearances you have to have. I can really, most of the time, just say, this is probably about what you're looking at ballpark-wise. And they say, okay, then they know, well, okay, do we need to raise some money for it? Do we need to take out a loan for it? Do we have the cash available to do it? Those types of things. And it's like, don't go down this road because the same principles apply to our design build services that we have for ground ups. The exact same principles, the exact same processes apply for our small projects. They're just on a smaller scale.
Yeah, and I had a friend of mine who is over a local organization who said, hey, we have some things we need to look at fixing, and you were able to come out, and I think it was so comforting to her to know you're walking through the building with her, and then once the work starts, she's just going to keep talking to you.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same
Yeah.
person. It's not
That's right.
like somebody who just could come out, well, I'll take a look and tell you what you might be dealing with. She knows she's getting actual numbers from the actual person who's going to do it.
Yeah, who's going to be overseeing it. That one of the things that I love about the work here that I get to do is what we call just cradle to grave. Basically, we're cradle to grave. They use that in church language too, but for other reasons. but is that I'll be the one that you're talking to on the initial communication. I'll be the one that is putting together the pricing. I'll be the one that is going through any design, any permitting that may have to happen and things like that. And I'll be the project manager on it clear through. And I'll also be the one that when, 6 months from now, if you say, hey, this stopped working or this, or whatever, hey, can you come, this warranty type thing, you're going to reach directly out to me anyhow. So I love that cradle to grave thing because I like walking with the client through it. And I just personally just like seeing projects through. I enjoy the fact of being able to go from an idea in somebody's head to actually getting to look at it and see the before after type shots. It's satisfying to me. It's gratifying to me. So I enjoy that part of it. And so I think that does, like you say, give comfort to our clients to know, okay, I'm talking to Ryan. He's not he's not the sales guy. He's not this. He's not that. I'm talking to Ryan, and he's going to be the one that. And so it almost has that. It can have that feel of that one-man shop type person. You have the one contact. You're not looking at some large conglomerate where, well, this person's going to do this part, and this person's going to do this part, and this person's going to do this part. We're able to just build a relationship together and walk through the project together.
Cool. And if people do need to reach you, what's the best way to do that?
They can either email me, which is ryan.sanford@dowsmith.com, or they can call me on my cell phone, 615-557-8257. Shoot me a text, do whatever. But, my office phone here rings direct to my cell phone, so my cell phone's the easiest way to reach me, and love talking to people about it. Love having those meetings.
Well, thank you for talking to us today about this. If you guys listening want more information on Dow Smith Company, you can check us out at dowsmith.com, on Facebook, on Instagram, or you could be one of our 20 followers on Twitter. And we would be happy to have you there. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you again, Ryan, for being on the podcast today.